Hey, everybody, welcome back to Advanced Angler Podcast, Advanced Kayak Angler Dan. I don't even know the name of my own show. Appreciate y'all listening as always. If you enjoy it, give us a Google review. Me and Armando from Bass Kayak and Beers, both under 110. We'd appreciate that. Helps the show, but really I appreciate y'all listening. And like I said last week, if you ever have an idea for a show, shoot me a message, please. I am approachable. Shoot me a message. If there's something you want to know, technique, person you want me to talk to, whoever it is, or you just really want to be on yourself, let me know. Let's figure this out. So this week, going to go ahead and get right to it. Got Duke Weskamp from Ketch Products. What's up, man?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
Good. The bump board king. I like it.
I figured you got to go big or go home. You know, if Yak Attack's going to make a bump board, I figure we got to stake our claim as the bump board king. You know what I'm saying?
Dang, going right for it. I like it. Right for the throat. Well, now, all right. Well, tell everybody who you are first, and then we'll go into I don't know the whole history of how the company got started. Maybe somehow I missed that. But yeah, man, tell everybody who you are.
No, I mean, I'm sure I'll tell this story when I'm 70. You know, so I'm a machine shop operator. I'm a machine builder by trade, and me and I have three business partners. One of them's a good close friend of mine. The other one happens to be my dad. And you know, we've done automation and built tooling and products for everyone from Ford Motor Company to General Motors and Honda China, Allison Transmission, 3M, Titleist golf balls, like you name it. And you know, we just always wanted to have a product line, and we never knew what it was. And me and my business partner Eric Peterson he was engaged to be married, and I was engaged to be married in like the next couple of years, and I slowly saw my time start shrinking. So it was really just a scheme, man. It was really just like, you know, a first time married man scheme to be like, all right, like, babe, we're going to design this product, like just as mostly just as an excuse to our wives or our fiancés at the time to go out and do trade shows and go to fishing tournaments and stuff like that. Kind of be immersed in the sport. And to be honest, we didn't really have any real designs on it ever becoming like a real deal company. Like we took the products dead serious because we're engineers, you know, so it was always going to be good. But we were also like, yeah, I don't know, like, do people want to buy like a $50-$60 bump board? Like, you know, they're using these plastic numbers that are like $20 now. And so that was the kayak market, and we really didn't see a lot of space. And so like we initially got in and we sold to like some muskie tournaments and some walleye tournaments, and then basically the whole thing was a joke to business when KBF approved the bump board in 2018, and you know, that was it. This was my full-time job since then, basically.
Wow. So what things were you making for other companies whenever you were doing that?
Man, God, it's all over the place.
Are you still doing that now?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay.
Like one of the things that kind of has always been a strength of ours is that, you know, we're buoyed by a consumer products business, but you know, we do a huge amount of business of like engineered to order business, where someone has an idea and they want to come to us, and we're going to do everything from the design to building it, or like just job shop stuff. We still operate our machine shop as a job shop. So we're a little diversified in that regard. And I mean, we do stuff that you'd recognize maybe if you're like into the AK-47 platform. We build all the Krebs gas blocks, and a lot of the components that they're selling, quite frankly, like several different variations of gas blocks. So we do some work in firearms. We do some. I'm sorry, I got the kids. Hang on one second. Let me just shut this thing real quick.
Yeah, man. Kids.
Oh, dude. I mean, they're a lot of work. Super rewarding, but think before you have them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got one running around up there myself.
So I mean, we do a lot of automation work because that was like the business that we came from. So as far as stuff that's like normally recognizable to like our audience here, probably not a lot of stuff. It's a lot of obscure stuff for businesses that you've never heard of that are gigantic, that make all the stuff you've ever heard of. Like one of our suppliers is a company called Covidian, or one of our customers is a company called Covidian. They do about 14 billion in the medical industry. So somewhere along the lines, our parts are ultrasonic welding those. But I mean, is it something that you'd recognize? No.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to have something custom made, they send you like a CAD design of it, and then you input it, or how does that work? If somebody just happens to be listening, we'll get you some business here.
100%. If you've got a print, hell yeah. Like, we'll quote it and build it for you. No problem. Even if you don't have a print, but you have a really well-defined idea, we can even deal with that. It's just, there's a lot in between there and the conceptual stage. So sometimes it's difficult to meet every customer's needs if you don't have an engineering background to design a part or something.
What about bait molds? Is that something y'all do?
We could easily do it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it seems like that would be right up your alley.
The tricky thing about bait molds is, I feel like you got to stomp on a lot of people, or like stomp on a lot of other people's ideas to do it. Like, I don't think I can come up with an original craw that hasn't been done, or a stick bait, like a paddle tail. Like, it's probably going to look like a Kitech or something there, thereabouts. Like,
and you change it 5%. That's why nobody. I had somebody else, like, people. Oh well, they're stomping on each other's patents. You can't patent a bait like you can, but then somebody will come back and change it 5 or 10% and make it a hair different, and then they got around your patent. And patents are expensive as hell. Like like all these companies are getting around the original rage tail flange, because that flange is at the end. If you move it up 1/8 of an inch up the tail, and it still flutters, and you get the same rage tail action, you get around the patent. So that's a lot of the reason, like, people don't understand why all these baits aren't patent, because it's so easy to get around them.
It's brutal, especially in the plastics. I mean, I think we all saw what Berkeley did to the Flag
Apollo,
170. And, I mean, I know people that work at Pure Fishing, and I'm just the same as the rest of them. But am I disappointed? Like, yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed at the guys in Vibe when they put a Mirage drive in a shear water because they say, oh, the patent ran out. Like, really, guys? Like, what do you bring into the game, kind of thing? And no, bear, I'm on. Oh man. Dude, just wait till you got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, man.
I got a 6, dude. He just turned 7 this week. He's out of his mind, man.
Yeah, mine just turned 7 about a week ago too. So
there you go.
It's a juggling act. I tell you what.
Oh man. So if you're making all this stuff, how did it happen? I know that you made a product that nobody really wanted with a board, or you came to market with something that nobody was. It's not like people were clamoring for, oh, we need another better board. You just said, I make metal shit, and I'm going to make one better than anybody else. So, and then you created the market for it, and now it's a standard. Like, how did the process happen? I mean, I was here for it, but I guess I don't know the behind the scenes of everybody just accepting your board as the standard. How'd that, in your eyes, how'd that come about?
It was, well, I mean, in my eyes, it was kind of always a standardization procedure to make CPR more relevant. I felt like the only way you could really trust CPR would be if you had one brand that was holding the same quality constraints on every board they built, and they weren't making you draw the lines on. I mean, we got to go back in time before there were other, let's remember that we were drawing our lines on our boards.
I just made a post about that.
I mean, we were in the dark ages, man.
Yeah.
So And I mean, like, honestly, like, and I've said this before, but the business, the CPR needed the hog trough. It wasn't like it was, like I was just build a better mousetrap in that situation, and the truth was I didn't even know it was a better mousetrap for CPR. Like, I've been fishing out of a kayak since 2008, and I've been tournament fishing muskie since like 2014 or 2015, but out of a boat. And I'd never tournament fished in a kayak. And I was like, we were building a bump board, and like halfway through kind of the development process, I became aware of CPR. And like the initial thing that I saw when we bought a bunch of hog troughs, and we bought some Check-It sticks. And I mean, I got
what were the flip over ones? I forget what they were.
That was the Yak Gear. That was the Yak Gear fish stick.
Yeah, fish stick. That's what it was.
So I mean, they came like just after us, actually. So I beat fish stick just by a little bit. But then what I just saw is like in my engineering mind is just like, listen, people don't think about this, but a manufacturing tolerance is a plus minus situation, right? So if our manufacturing tolerance on the aluminum boards is plus 0.005 of an inch, minus 0.005 of an inch. That means that even if you're at the max variance and the other guy's at the minimum variance, there's only 0.010 of an inch, like a little bit more than a human hair difference, which I think everyone's willing to pass in a fishing tournament, right? Like, it doesn't need to be that accurate. That's just my engineering mind that said, let's make it to that level. But then when you go to some of, like, for example, hog trough, I have no problem saying this. There's plenty of boards that are well over plus or minus a 16th, in some cases, 3/32 and more. So it's a gigantic variance when you look at the plus side and then the minus side. And so it was just a matter of kind of, talking to tournament directors and saying, like, listen, it's just about the consistency. I'm treating this like a measurement device, not like a novelty, draw your own lines on it kind of thing, and so that's, I think that's where it was rooted. And then, I mean, the rest is history. Ron Champion flexed the hog trough, and like that was
FlexGate.
Yeah, I mean, and like the truth was, I think we had about like 75% of the market, but like anybody else that was like, I'm still hanging on to the hog trough at that point was kind of like, yeah, we're done with it. And so that's, kind of when we got adopted as the standard. So, and I did see that, like, as an entrepreneur, I did see that, like, if you make a better mousetrap and like you can get everyone to use it, yeah, that, like just making it better is a tactic. Like, having it essentially administrated into use is a valuable sales tactic. So, not to sound scummy, but that was definitely something that the regulation of it was important to me for sure.
So I'm one of those people that have one of the older ones, the OG boards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your sales pitch for why I should get, until I lose it, which I have a tether. So like, it seems difficult. Like, you've made this amazing product.
I'll short circuit you. I won't give you a sales pitch, because the board that you have is 100% hands down the best product we ever made.
But it doesn't it hurt yourself that you're making such great boards that, like, unless you just lose it, or I mean, I have a backup too, because I have my carbonite, and I have a saltwater, one of the big 32 KBF Pro boards with my name on it. So I have 3 of your boards. Like, why, except for needing a second board or losing one, don't you hurt yourself by making such a robust product, I guess?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, if once I saw the light, and once I was like, we built a brand here, right? Like, everyone recognizes it. I mean, I'd say amongst people that know what CPR is, I mean, I'd say we have almost 100% recognizability. So, when you, like, you can, honestly, anything that I do to build the bump boards better and build them so they don't break, and that I don't, like, I'm not making old models redundant really ever. We've never done that. Like, we've done some improvements. We've done some manufacturing improvements to make more margin. We've done some improvements with plastic where we were able to offer it at a lower retail price and stuff like that. But, I feel like the work that we're doing here is, we're getting into a ton of odds and ends in the accessories business. And, listen, if you know that you have to buy one bump board and that's all you need, then maybe that's like you only need to buy one T-track. You only need to buy one motor mount or a power pole mount or, I'll be honest. I think we have like 34 or 35 finished SKUs that are just in process in the shop right now, all platform specific, all meant for a specific boat and not, it's not
like that aren't on the site already. 35.
Correct. Yes, correct. I think we've had about 13 or 14 new SKUs since the beginning of the year, but that's about to blow up.
So you're about to more than double your.
I wanted to get one new SKU every week for the entire year, so I got some catching up to do based on where we're at. But I feel like if we lay the groundwork, if you're trusted and like you don't, if your product doesn't work itself in redundancy because the finish fails or it breaks or whatever, like that only means that the next thing I make, the guy's more likely to buy it because he trusts the brand, he trusts what he bought in the first place, But your board that you bought, the original powder coated boards, that's the best bump board that's ever been made. I will go to my grave saying that. No one can argue with it. It was those things were like stupid accurate. They were so accurate that unless you were a machinist, it was the most accurate thing that you had in your house. And it was just one of the unfortunate like COVID manufacturing things that just came about. It became really difficult to get product to our powder coater. Their prices went sky high. The aluminum bar stock prices went sky high, and it got to a point like somewhere in like 2021 or midway through or early 2022 where it was just like we were literally building them to make no money, And so I was like, we just got to stop. And I love that product line. That's where we started, and I wish I could keep making it for forever, but it's just, inflation, COVID, all the rest of it kind of put a fork in that one.
Yeah. For all your new products that you have now, why are you deciding to make these products? Like is it just you have a hobby and that's like, well, I think this could be better or this could be better? Or
Hell
people
yeah.
ideas
Some of it's exactly like that. I'm on a Hobie PA14, so
yeah.
That's a line that we've responded really well to, right? Because I've got one and I know I kind of know what I like and I don't like about it. So, but most of it's just the whole thing in the beginning for like maybe the second half of last year was just trying to figure out, okay, how do we keep the time down? How do we keep the cost down to where we can like service a niche item? Where I'm not like if I sell like a Hobie specific product, like I'm not expecting to sell 10,000 of them. If I sell a few hundred or 400 or 500 of them, like I'm doing pretty well on it. But therein lies that's the game is like, how do I got to figure out how to develop the product and put it together and sell it and be profitable on it, like 300 or 400 units.
So that's kind of your goal for each product is, I guess that's a difficult thing about the market, goes with the podcast too. It's such a niche deal. Like, if you make one thing and you make a ton of it, you can get the design costs and everything down. So you can scale it up. So it's, but whenever you're making a product and you're only expecting to sell 300 or 400, like you have to charge more because it's more of a specialized item, right? Or is it like, how do you know, like I'm going through a design process and make this product, like how am I going to make any money off this whenever it can only sell 300 or 400,
So you gotta look at like scalability, not in terms of like each individual SKU. Like when we designed the first motor mount we did was a bow mount for the PA14. Well, I took a lot of learning lessons from that, and like it took about half as much time to do the Bonafide SS127. So we've developed the kind of methodology to go through it, and we already have kind of a base design. So I'm not reinventing the wheel every time around, and that's important. It really needs to be that. We really need to kind of like keep with the same concepts from platform to platform, and that's the way you make it make sense. Is if I design this part for a Hobie, well, it might apply to an autopilot, it might apply to a new canoe, it might apply to a Bonafide. And so you develop every product with that in your mind, like we need to be able to do this to multiple platforms. And then again, as long as you can keep an open mind and do it like that, then you can get to those 1,000 or 1,200 or 1,500 units, but they're different variants amongst that SKU, but you have to, I think like a lot of the groundwork is done when you do product A, right? Like, the origin essentially.
And are all these products? I know you have good distribution in, kayak and paddle shops all across the country for your boards. Are you rolling those out to those shops as well, or since these are kind of more specific, or they tell you that they want to carry it, and whenever you say, "I have this new product that you can carry," and they tell you, or how does that work?
So I mean, we're figuring that out just like everyone else. There's what we're trying to do is when we can deliberately build the margin in so that we can wholesale it to a dealer, we always do. That's like default position, right? We always want to make it available to dealers. But even on parts that are lower volume, where we have skinnier margins, like we can skinny up our margins and work with dealers. But our program with any of the parts that are kind of aftermarket parts is we want to see a dealership that is actively building boats. Like you're not hanging this on your rack for margin to sell it to the customer. Like the idea is, you can leverage the part as some way to sell, labor to the consumer, to your customer that walks in the door and wants to make his rig his own rig. So
that way it makes sense because the margin's so slim for that company. They want to take on that product because they make margin in the labor, not necessarily in the product.
So I mean, we've done well at some locations, and again, I mean, the bump board does, if you have a tournament angler kind of, mix, like at least if 25% of your product or your customer mix is tournament anglers, the bump board always does really well. Yeah. But like it's all like, like shops like Westbrook or Dugout or Louisiana Custom Kayak, and some of those shops that are doing like a lot of heavily modified boats, they do really well with the product line because it draws labor. And then, again, if it's just a kind of an add-on sale, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I don't really have any way to monitor that. It's just like, if someone says, "Oh yeah, no, we build stuff and let's carry it," and and we just kind of see it. We've only really been selling anything other than bump boards for about a year right now. So I'm still willing to take my lessons and learn a little bit.
Gotcha. And I don't want to talk shit about Yak Tech because they make a lot of great products. Are you surprised that there haven't been any more like real direct threats to your bump board business?
No,
it seems like, I don't know the business, so I don't know the machine, the machinery, the capital costs that are involved, and
I'll lay it down for you in a very transparent, very easy way.
I mean, yeah, I'm not asking for your secret sauce or.
No, I won't give any. I'm
like just you said, curious.
I got Yak Attack breathing in my back pocket. I ain't giving any secret sauce on the podcast. But here's what happens is most of the time, I think people that I ended up in a weird situation. I was in a situation where I already owned all this equipment to do these things, or most of it, because I bought lasers like So I bought $2 million in superfluous equipment. All right. So just to
I'm sorry, what?
$2 million. Yes, that's equipment that we didn't know how to
Have a
use,
drink.
that we learned on the fly. And it's not as easy as it looks, and the market's not near as big as it looks. Like,
yeah.
The crazy thing is, like, people see the tournament market as driving it. And I'll tell you this much. I can definitely pinpoint that about 60% of our anglers are non-tournament anglers. They never fish a CPR tournament ever. So it's kind of a weird market. And the exact tournament market where people would place us is much smaller. And so I think most people that try to get into it, they think better of it, and they say, man, $2 million to have this piece for, like, how long does it take us to get the ROI on it? And I was in a unique situation because of where I was. I didn't pay for automation because I already built automation. I already own the CNC machines, the saws, the planer. Like, I own so much equipment to begin with. So it was like I wasn't starting from square one. So it was easier for me to go for, like, take that next step, essentially. So I mean, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble getting into the bump board market, quite frankly.
I believe it. Do you, or is like everybody at Ketch just praying that the boat guys get into boards, that they go to measuring rather than weighing? Which, I mean, is I came from the boat side, and it's absolutely crazy that they're not CPR and fish, because I can see, like here at Lay Lake, the Bassmaster, the Elite Series guys were here. They said the lake is destroyed. My local club fished a tournament there. That lake is destroyed. And the state is now talking about shutting the whole lake off for a year. And whenever they do that, the other Coosa River lakes on the other side of Lay Lake are already destroyed, but they're going to get even worse because all those people that fish Lay Lake tournaments all the time are just going to go to those lakes. Like, there is a real problem in how many people are fishing tournaments and bass fishing. And even with CPR, it's going to be so difficult on a fishery. It seems crazy that these other tournament organizations for boats aren't doing it. And how do you, like, do you have a plan to get your boards into, because a lot of the, I don't mean to ramble on here, but a lot of the people, I'm thinking through it as I'm saying it, but a lot of the bass boat people I talk to, they think it's just sketch. Like, they don't think that doing a CPR tournament is regulated enough that it actually makes sense. And then whenever you take the time to explain it, they're like, oh, okay. Like, it's equally like an equal sign. It's equal to bass boat cheaters to kayak cheaters. Like, it's equal on both sides. You can't, I wouldn't say that a boat guy, they can probably get away from people quicker to go cheat and have fish in a basket or whatever it is quicker than a kayak person could. So I think the equal, it's just as, I don't know, just as fair on both sides. I'll say that. So are you doing something to actively try to get your boards into the hands of TDs for organizations, or like?
We always have with the boat segment, and like what I'm really driving after and like going after right now is a lot of the tiny boat segment, because I feel like there's a lot of parallels between these guys that are building like little P-Rows, little John boats, and like customizing them. And I feel like that's like the same kind of mentality that brings you to a kayak, like it's just that there's some people that prefer the kayak. There's some people that prefer the boat. Like, it's really just a matter of preference. Like, it has, so like we're actively going after that. I've approached several manufacturers that I won't mention who have our boards, and like we've talked to about OEMing them, and oh, this is really expensive. We just put this flat metal like thing right here. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's the problem with it, is that these guys count on it because they go to a weigh-in, and that fish needs to be legal. But you put it in this slot and you pull it out by the fence end and you push it back in with the fence
Yeah,
end
the little one that goes
over and over.
Yeah,
And it's not dowel pinned. It's not like, so it moves, it bends. There's all sorts of reasons why it's awful. And the biggest thing, like near as I can tell, like the boat market wants something like that flat stick measuring device, this thing, right?
But has a cradle, right?
Without a cradle. They just want that flat thing that fits in their boat, because they can't figure out, with all the rest of the stuff on their boat, they can't figure out where to store a catch board. So
like if they already have that little hole, they can't just make it bigger to get a catch board in there.
No, I mean, they're just,
come on, Triton.
Well, they didn't, like part of our brand's acceptance was the regulation, right? You kind of had to like it for a short period of time. And then I think, people got to know what we were all about. And I think people liked the brand, so it ended up being a good thing. But like, I don't have that benefit in the boat world. They're just kind of like, oh, here's this dude selling $70 bump boards,
Yeah.
So honestly, like I feel like I do feel like the boat tournaments would benefit from CPR. Not all the time, but like during the middle of summer, man. Like, I mean, come on. I don't want to upset tradition. And like, by all means, if you're like doing a walleye tournament or something, if you're up north doing like walleye tournaments on Lake Erie, Superior, Ontario, Huron, whatever, like go ahead, just weigh those things in. But like, there's certain tournament formats where CPR is more sustainable. But to be clear, I'm not a CPR only type of person, because like responsible culling needs to happen with CPR in order for like to make the whole thing work realistically.
Gotcha. So, I mean, you've been around for kayak fishing for a long time now. Well, and you're seeing the actual sales side of it. Where I hear a lot of people say, well, it's slowed down, sales have slowed or whatever. Like, where do you think kayak fishing is out at right now? And where do you think it's going to be in 5 to 10 years?
I mean, I think that right now the thing that is the thing that everyone's calling it like a pullback, a slowdown. It's a kayak recession. And like, realistically, what happened is a lot of the manufacturers, they got out over their skis, and they thought that like, hey, 2021 COVID numbers are the new reality, and then we're gonna like figure our growth based on that. And I think it's put a lot of manufacturers in our space in a really hard place. And I think inadvertently it's put a lot of dealers in a hard place too, because they're dealing with big box stores discounting inventory. They're dealing with they're dealing with a whole set of problems, So I feel like the business is, dollar wise for us, it's growing right now, but like just barely. It's like a flat growth, like 10% to 15%.
That's good. That's great, though. I mean, yeah.
No, for sure. And
if your company can grow 10% every year, I mean, hell,
and I think in the next 5 to 10 years, I think like realistically, I think you see a redefinition of what it is that we call a fishing kayak. I think that the manufacturers have been like far too like deaf to the trends, that are out there right now. I don't know. You might even see me build a boat,
Come on, like a metal boat, like a 10 rig.
Well, that's about all I'll tell you. But I mean, I don't think people are paying attention to I feel like a lot of the wounds are self-inflicted in this business. And I think that for the most part, there'll be a lot of businesses that stick around and are healthy. But I think it's going to be like another 12 or 18 months of what everyone's calling down, which is just really only down because their cash flow was predicated upon selling twice as many boats as they sold, Yeah.
I'll tell you a great idea for a boat. You want to hear it? Nobody's going to build it, but I'll tell you.
Of course I want to hear it. I'll build it.
Like a rigid inflatable. like Navy SEALs, like you have a hard bottom plastic with inflatable on the side.
I don't want to give too much up, but you might be real happy.
Yeah, why I don't know why it's like the best of both worlds where it's durable. I could drag it over a shoal, but it's lighter than a full sit on top kayak. I don't. It's crazy to me that nobody has built that kayak yet.
I've got a lot of concepts, and you're going to see a lot, like there's a lot bigger product breadth that you're going to see from me and from well, I mean, we're also, we have a subsidiary now called OPS, so we're going to be doing some like retail level stuff as well, kind of kitting out some parts and doing all sorts of stuff. So I couldn't even get into in a podcast all that's going on right now.
Are you talking to, it seems like an easy fit where you would talk to kayak manufacturers and you would maybe be able to build some parts for them, that they would put factory on their kayaks. Is that something that you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll OEM with anybody. That's where we want to be. It adds further legitimacy to our brand for sure. And again, I think I don't want to, it's not like a knock at any of the manufacturers. All the manufacturers, like they're dealing in the same constraints that I'm dealing with. Like you've got X amount of budget to put this boat out, and then you've got this price point you want to put the boat out, right? So like some ideas get cut and some ideas make it to the final draft. And I'm just kind of here to pick up in between a little bit. And if we can be an OEM, source so that they can do that from the factory, better yet. It doesn't need to be a Ketch thing. It could be a Old Town thing, a Bonafide thing, a Hobie thing, a Jackson thing. It doesn't need to be a Ketch thing. I'm 100% open to that and engaged in, some of that stuff right now.
There you go. Cool. How's a Ketch cart been? I mean, there's no doubt it's like the most legit, overbuilt, great product on the market. Has it been? Didn't y'all have a price reduction?
We did. We knew we had to sell the first 250 units at a price because I had to absorb some engineering costs because we tested it for a while, and so that was like the first drop down. And then right now we're kind of at bare bones. Like realistically, I'm looking into, making some new extrusions and like working on a new connector system, which I think could the fruits of that labor could, provide benefits in either building a kayak brand or accessories for the kayak industry. So it's not a huge winner, from a bottom line standpoint. But you go to the Mazonia strip mines and you'll see 8 of them stacked up, and so it's got its kind of regional appeal, which is mostly right here in the Midwest, in the heart of the Midwest, where guys are fishing strip mines and they kind of are doing that style of hiking out and fishing. But I think it's a great product. I think it could be lighter. I think there's a lot of things we could do better with it, but right now it's kind of that in that limbo phase, so to speak.
I mean, it's part of your product mix. I mean, it's not, they can't all be fast sellers, I guess.
Well, no, I mean, it's sold really quick to begin with, and it sells still, but it's just not. I feel like I got stuck into a mode of thinking about fishing just the way I think about fishing, which is, I like to go fishing in a certain way, and I fish the strip mines a lot when I'm not fishing big water. And to me, the most important thing about any cart that takes you into the strip mines is it just needs to be able to come back every time, 100% of the time. And so we built it kind of with that prerequisite in mind. And I think maybe the thing that I under anticipated was that there's a lot of guys that they don't need it to go to hell and back. They just need it to go to over a paved, parking lot to the boat ramp or the beach or whatever it is. And so there's obviously a ton of better solutions that are way cheaper than our cart that do that kind of thing,
Have you thought about, man, I would love to see, this is just my hope, an easier way to put wheels on my pro angler. Can you make that happen? Like, integrated boondock style. Like you're saying, like nobody is really competing with you on the board. Why is nobody competing with boondock on the? I know you don't want to run people over, but why?
I mean, I think the scary part about that product is there's a product liability with the wheels, and it's some of it's implied, but the manufacturer like educating the consumer about what the product does, and then some of it's liable on the consumer who goes and loads the hell out of a kayak and then goes and throws those boondocks things on there, and then it's like my hull cracked. It's like, well, yeah, dude, yeah, it's not really meant to do. Like, you can't throw your huge battery box and your NK 300 back there, and like that's not just the kayak anymore. That's not what it's meant to do. So, I do feel
it just kind of how it hurts, how it would hurt people's, because like some people are going to buy the regular version instead of the HD, and then it really falls on them, not on you. But somehow the gray area of it would kind of fall back on Ketch. Like, you don't want the smoke of that, because it tarnishes your reputation, I guess.
I just don't want to like ever make anything that someone bolts to their boat and then like causes a warranty issue. Like, if there was already a problem with the boat, and like even if there was already a problem with the boat, because I'll be honest, like, you've seen the guys that are making the new there's all sorts of little like gizmos to fix the cracking around the seats on Hobies, and like I'll be honest, I heard there's been people bringing this idea to me for like over a year, and I was like, man, I'm not going to do it. And they're like, well, why are you going to do it? Well, there's an insert nut, and the reason that those cracks are happening is because the leverage that's put on the bolt, not the plastic foot on the plastic kayak. That's not what's causing it. It's the leverage that's put on that insert nut. And then when you put one of those plastic plates on there, all you're doing is making the leverage a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch or a 1/2 inch longer. And it's I don't know. There's a lot of makers out there that put solutions out there that are not really solutions. And I hate to see someone, when they go to warranty their product, if they have a crack right there and they've used an aftermarket product, I hate to see what a manufacturer is going to say about that, especially Hobie right now,
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I actually had a friend, because we both have Hobies. He asked me, should I, what do you think about these feet? Do you think I should get them? I said, I don't know. Can't hurt, I guess. But all right. So I hope you're watching and not listening to this. So there you go. I got a bunch more questions here. This is a question I get a lot, and people always want, like, people want to be on teams. People want to be a part of something. People want discounts, free stuff, whatever it is. I know that you have some of the best anglers in the country on your team. First, I'll say, like you were saying before, like, it seems hard to get any return on many team members, because everybody who's doing this on the tournament level already, you have 100% brand name recognition. But to get past that, like, what makes a good team member to you? Like, if somebody is, because every time I have somebody from a company on, I try to ask them, like, what you look for in team members.
I mean, ideas and engagement. I like even if you got dumb ideas, like I want to hear them, like, because like you got to hear some dumb ideas before you know good ideas. Like as long as you're engaged and you buy into it, that's all. I mean, like truthfully, we're kind of, we've been super tournament oriented. If you look at our pro staff, it's like, Jody Queen, Russ Snyder's, Dusty Yak, yeah, like it's a who's who. It's a great team from a tournament perspective. But I think those like the broader market is outside of that tournament sphere, and they don't even understand who those people are, you know. So we're trying to, and I hate using the term influencer, but we're trying to like work with some influencers that are, you know, going to expose us to like more, not recreational, like not recreational kayak the way we think of it, like someone who's like on a kayak, not fishing, right?
Yeah.
But more of the recreational market, like, hey, I just dig fishing. I want a cheaper way than a bass boat to get off the bank, and this seems like a good idea to me. You know, that's kind of what we're searching for.
I mean, just from what I've seen with podcasts and everything else, there's a lot more people at the bottom of the pyramid, either just getting into kayak fishing or, you know, things like that, rather than the people at the very top that are tournament kayak, national level oriented type people. There's always a lot more people at the bottom of it than there are at the top. But yeah.
And 90% of the sales happen from, you know, people that are, like I said, we have about 60% product mix of people that don't even that don't even tournament fish. How about this? I'll go on the record saying this. Fresh and Salty on the West Coast, they're the biggest club that buys from us, hands down. They are, by numbers, they're like probably the third or fourth biggest dealer that we have, and they run one tournament a summer. It's nothing about tournament. It's just about like keeping stiff to regulations and like using a good product. And I mean, so we've been looking at in different avenues too, because like I think the traditional avenues are, you know, the tournament anglers, and I think we've got that really covered. And so I kind of want to like start diversifying a little bit into multi-species and like, you know, the average guy, right? Joe average guy, what he's doing on the weekend, and how either our products on like the kayaks or the bump boards apply to him, you know?
I mean, it kind of seems like, maybe I'm way off here, but it seems like you see your company as bringing, not necessarily just bringing product. I mean, it is bringing products, but bringing standardization or like details, or, you know, like what you've done with a board where you've made it not technical. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but like you're bringing more perfection, more standardization to kayak fishing, I guess, you know. And I guess any product that you make is going to be a better made, standardized kind of product. Does that make sense?
That's what I'm shooting for, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm way better at building a better mousetrap. I love seeing something that's, you know, well, I don't love seeing it. I hate seeing something that doesn't work, but then I also kind of love the thought process of like, oh, how do you improve this thing that we use all the time? So I enjoy that, you know. It's
Yeah.
and we'll see where we go. I mean, right now it's like it's just kind of like an open, you know, an open world, so to speak. You know, we're just kind of heading in every different direction, and you know, like when we find the pressure points, we're going to push on the pressure points and really, you know, really push those products. And then, you know, we're always going to be looking for the next great thing. And again, the whole idea is, you know, I'm building this to build it into a kayak business. Like this is not going to be just accessories. At some point, I'm going to build the best accessories for everyone's boat, and then I'm going to build the best boat. And I know that's horribly conceited and
No, dude,
but that's just the way it works in my mind.
if you're not thinking that way as a businessman, then, you know, then you're already lost.
Yeah, no, that's the way I've been thinking about it for a while. You know, we're doing a retail deal, so we're going to be offering retail, which is like kind of based around kits. So like, oh, I want to add a bow mount to my SS 127. Well, instead of going to a bunch of different places to buy the mount and the quick release and the wire and the connectors and all that, like we're just going to offer all that as like one kit. So like it's just kind of like simplifying the DIY nature of the business, so to speak. So I feel like it's going to be big for. I feel like it's going to be big for like maybe not for a guy like you that's like been in the industry for a while and like you can get the answers to the questions you need, but I feel like it's really big for that guy that just like popped in and he's like, oh, well, I want to buy this boat and I want to do this to it. And he just needs answers. He doesn't need to dig through years of fishing forums.
What through hole, what foot pegs, what wire, what cable. Oh, dude, you have to go on forums and or groups, and it takes you a month to figure all that stuff out. Yeah. I mean,
what fits on my boat? What size do I need? Yeah. Oh, and then it's like, oh no, but you need this. You got to space it up with 2 washers here. And then you got to do this and this and this. It's like what we're trying to do with the platform specific is just like give you a solution that's basically bolt on. Like maybe you got to drill a hole, maybe not, but like it's basically meant to be bolt on. So you're not thinking about, it's not a one size fits all kind of option.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Are there any products that we should be on the lookout for that are, maybe you want to give a teaser for something coming out that people might want to buy?
I mean, for anyone running the dual graphs or doing the crossbar kind of section, I know a lot of the Hobie guys use that 21-inch H rail across the front. Yeah. We have a substitute for that. The awesome part about it is all of our hardware for that is super cheap. So putting the crossbar on is going to be about the same as the H bar, except you don't need to buy a Hobie adapter every time you want to bolt something to it. Like it's got a T-track on it, and we're going to use T-studs and some Dubro knobs, which are super economical. And so it's just kind of something that makes a lot more sense, especially since everyone seems to be going to that crossbar in the front of the PA platform. It's going to be available for the SS127 platform, also AP 120 and 136, I think it is, or 132, by the end of the month.
I'll buy one. I've killed mine because it hits I have a damn Yakima trailer, and it hits it whenever I put it up into it. So it hits my rail. So that little crossbar is bent, and I need a new one. So as soon as you come out with one, I'm be a buyer.
I've just been waiting to get the hardware together for that. Honestly, that should have been out like 2 weeks ago. And I'm just kind of struggling with all the hardware for it and just had like a bunch of issues with that. But that's a product that should have been out a while ago. There's spacers for it. So again, you can space your graph up or your rod holder up, or you can space the whole bar up off the rail. There's all sorts of different options. So we're kind of like trying to come up with like more of a modular system. Again, like apply it to platform specific as we can, but then also we do want to make some universal options for people that are more like DIY,
Cool. I have one last question because my friend, I didn't know anything about it. He said to ask Duke about a live stream project you had coming with Dusty and Scott.
We're working on some stuff. I'm tight-lipped on any live stream projects right now. You're gonna have to bring me on a little later and press me for some information. But right now, that's tight-lipped.
Sounds good. All right. So where can everybody find you and Ketch Products?
Well, you can find us I think we're at Ketch USA on Facebook, or like we're at Ketch Products on Facebook. I don't even know, man. Like, I'm so bad with this stuff.
KETCH, you'll find it.
Yeah, KETCH. Like, if you find Duke Weskamp, send me a friend request. Like, yeah, no, it's all good.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on, and appreciate everybody listening, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Later.
Thanks for having me on, brother.
Yeah, man.